Hi, Lafayette Lions. This is Miss Clark, and today we're going to talk about telling time to the nearest 5 minutes. Really quick, let's review the kinds of clocks that we can see. The first one is a digital clock, and the second is an analog clock. A digital clock shows the time with numbers, and there are no hour or minute hands on a digital clock. There's only numbers. An analog clock has the shorter hand, which is our hour hand, the longer arrow, which is our minute hand, and there's usually a smaller, skinny arrow that's a different color, and that's going to be the seconds hand. There are tick marks to help count the minutes on an analog clock, and the numbers help to count the hours. How do you read an analog clock? Well, first, we're going to start with the hour hand. That's going to be the shorter one. If the hour hand is on a number, so if it's pointing directly at a number, then we're going to read that number for the hour. Our hour hand is pointing directly at the 12, so it's going to be the 12 o'clock hour. Now, sometimes the hour hand does not directly point on a number. It could be in between a number. When that happens, we always are going to look at the number behind because it hasn't quite reached this number yet. So this arrow is in between the 12 and the 1. It hasn't quite reached the 1 yet, so it's still going to be in that 12 o'clock hour. Next, we're going to look at the minute hand. Each number on the clock is a multiple of 5 when we're counting minutes. So we can skip count by 5s to help us count the minutes. So I'm going to look to see where my minute hand is pointing, and it's at the 3. So I'm going to skip count starting at 12 all the way to the 3 to figure out the minutes. I've got 5, 10, 15. So 15 minutes have gone by. When I put them both together, I see that the shorthand is pointing directly on the 12, and the minute hand is at the 3, and I remember we skip counted and we had 5, 10, 15. The time is 12:15. Now, don't get tricked. Sometimes the hour hand gets very close to the next number. So we have to pay attention to the minute hand so that we don't get tricked. This hour hand looks very, very close to 1, but our minute hand hasn't quite reached the 12 yet to tell us that it's a new hour. If that minute hand hasn't quite reached the 12 yet, then we still have to use the time, the number that's behind that we've already passed. We still haven't gotten to that 1 o'clock hour yet because our minute hand hasn't reached the 12. You always want to look at the hour behind, even though it's really close to that 1. Looking at the hour behind, I see that it's going to be 12. And now to count the minutes, I'm going to skip count each of these numbers by 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, and 55. Our minute hand is on the 11, which means that 55 minutes have gone by. So it's going to be 12:55. Let's practice. What time is it? Remember, first, we're going to look at our hour hand. I see that the hour hand, which is the shorter hand, is in between the 6 and the 7. I know that when the hour hand is in between two numbers, I'm always going to look at the number that is behind. So I know that the hour is 6 o'clock. Next, I'm going to look at the minute hand, which is the longer hand. When I look at the minutes, I know that I can use these numbers on the clock to help me skip count by 5s. At the 12, I have 0, and then 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and 35. Our minute hand is on the 7, which means 35 minutes have gone by. So our time is 6:35. Let's practice this one. I want you to pause your video and take a look at the clock to see if you can figure out what time it is. When you figure out your time, unpause your video to see if you use the strategies correctly. All right, friends. First, we're going to look at our hour hand, which is our smaller hand. It's pointing right at that 10 o'clock, so I know that it's going to be 10. Now I'm going to look at my minute hand, which is my longer hand. I remember that I can use these numbers on the clock to help me skip count by 5s when I'm counting the minutes. Starting at the 12, I have 0, then 5, then 10. Our minute hand is pointing at the 2, so I know that means 10 minutes have gone by. So the time is going to be 10:10. Let's practice this one. What time is it? Pause the video and use your strategies to help you figure out what time it is. All right, kiddos, let's see. Our hour hand is right in between the 2 and the 3. And I know that when the hour hand is in between two numbers, I'm always going to look at the number behind. So it's going to be 2 o'clock. Next, I'm going to skip count by 5s to help me figure out my minutes. 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. It's 2:25. Let's practice this one. What time is it? Pause your video and look at the clock to figure out what time it is. All right, let's see. Our hour hand is in between the 4 and the 5. It's really close to the 5, but hasn't quite touched it yet. So I know that the hour is going to be 4. And now I'm going to use these numbers to help me skip count by 5s until I reach our minute hand to figure out the minutes. 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, and 55. The time is 4:55. Let's practice this one. What time is it? Pause the video and see if you can guess what time it is. Okay, I see that my hour hand is pointing directly at my 6 o'clock. I also see that my minute hand is right on the 12. When the minute hand is on the 12, that means that no minutes have gone by, so it's going to be exactly 6 o'clock. Good work today, third graders. You're going to move on to your next activity, which is a graded practice. Make sure that if you get confused or you need some extra help, you come back to this video for a refresher. Good luck!